Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here today with a special guest, down from down under. It's Busketer, who's the
That's
CEO.
it.
That's the right, I pronounced it right. CEO of Captain's Choice. Now, what's Captain's Choice? Well, this is what we're here to tell you. It's a great tour operator, and they're actually marketing to travel advisors here in the U.S. as well. We've been running some of their promotions and some of the things that they're trying to do, and we're going to talk to Bus about this, about the company, the history of it, and why it could be a great option for you and your clients to book. So we're going to talk about that on Insider Travel Report. Buzz, first of all, great to see you, and
Thank you.
we're a world away right now, a half world away. But we were talking about it, I've been down to Australia, and hey, tell me first a little bit about the history of the company. When did Captain's Choice start in business, and when did it and what did it initially sell?
Yeah, thanks, James. The company started back in 1994, and believe it or not, the original owner of the company, a gentleman named Phil Asker, he had a great following in his metropolitan travel agency and had a couple of genuine great corporate accounts. One of those being the McDonald's franchisees.
Oh wow!
Now, Phil every year put together a fantastic trip for all these franchisees because they went on their annual trip somewhere different every year. But Phil was about pushing boundaries. And at the time, Phil was speaking a lot to Qantas about re engaging
Hmm.
some sightseeing flights over Antarctica, which happened back in the 70s. And for those that are well aware of travel around Antarctica would know that due to the Erebus disaster in the late 70s with Air New Zealand, they stopped all flights over
Mm.
Antarctica. But Phil was working with Qantas to reinstate those flights, which on the side he initially did. But what he asked one of the Qantas captains when he was working on that whole project, he said, "Would you allow me to charter a Qantas aircraft and take a group of individuals and take them to the best destinations in Asia and Africa?"
Oh,
And they thought about it. They came back to him and said, "Why not?" So Phil put together this great itinerary for the McDonald's franchisees, taking in the Great Wall, Taj Mahal, Jerusalem, over to Tanzania, doing the Big Five, coming back via the Seychelles and Broome back to Sydney.
wow!
Now, in
Very exotic.
1994, this that was unheard of
Yeah.
course, on your own Qantas aircraft. And as a true Australian, all Australians love Qantas. So having your own Qantas aircraft take you to these wonderful destinations. But
Hmm.
one thing Phil forgot was that, there was only about 100 franchisees and there was plenty of spare seats on this aircraft. So he put a full page ad in both the Melbourne and Sydney Herald Sun and advertised the trip to the general public. And the tickets got snapped up within 3 days. So off they went, this fabulous trip. Media were on board because the McDonald's franchisees were launching Ronald McDonald House, and everything went swimmingly. And of course, on the way home and when the tour got back, everyone said, "Where's the next trip going?" And of course,
Ah,
people
there
were
you go.
still calling from the general public, said, "When are you going to operate something like that again? We want our chance to go. We missed out on the first one." So what ended up just being a one-off trip turned into the company that we now operate called Captain's Choice.
Yeah. Now
Now,
what?
the crazy thing,
Yeah. Go ahead.
go on.
No.
No, no, I know what you're going to ask me because a
I
lot of
my,
people
my
ask me
the next question was why is it called Captain's Choice?
exactly. Well, and I knew you were going to go down this path because, and that's the first question I get, that they decided to call the first trip the Captain's Choice Tour
Okay.
because ultimately it was the captain that chose the itinerary that they flew on that first trip. Now, Phil, not being so imaginative, said, "Why don't we just call this the Captain's Choice Tour?" And so off they went, and they, as I said, they had a fabulous time, and it was so successful that it came back. So we thought, well, I'll drop "the" in the tour, and we'll just call it Captain's Choice, and that's where the name came from, and it's stuck ever since.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, you sell a lot more destinations today. Where do you go? What destinations do you sell, and what forms of travel and transportation do you use? I say this because I've seen a few of your releases recently, and you're getting very exotic with trains and all kinds of things, right?
Well, yes, and of course, so Phil, in establishing Captain's Choice, he really went back to what he found incredibly interesting, and what he wanted to do was create luxury travel to remote and exotic destinations, but take all the hassle away so that people could genuinely enjoy every destination. Everything was done behind the scenes and genuinely all inclusive. But Phil loved his modes of travel. That's why he aspired to charter a Qantas aircraft.
Hmm.
He set up, worked very closely with Golden Eagle to operate the Silk Road by private train. He worked with other operators and did Eastern Europe by private train. He started chartering aircraft and doing all of Africa, Cape Town to Cairo, South America. And what he quickly found was that if, as long as we were in control of the mode of transport, we could offer and live by our values of offering seamless travel to these guests where they don't need to put their hands in their pocket and they can really enjoy the destinations. So, what we've moved from in the last 30 years is, yes, we don't necessarily travel in big, huge groups of 200 or 250 when he
Right.
first chartered the Qantas aircraft, but now we use as much as we can our own forms of transport by chartering vessels, trains, planes, but a lot smaller because we believe in that smaller group travel. So we're very lucky as far as our product team love what they do because we absolutely put no restrictions on what they look at. So we've just released La Dolce Vita, so the beautiful
Oh
new
yeah,
Italian
the
train that's come
famous
online.
the new famous train. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's part of our collection next year, and it's combining that with a fabulous Silver Sea cruise of the Mediterranean, and of course some of our favourite places in France. So what we do is combine these modes of transport and build an itinerary around it. And that's what our guests genuinely love. They love I guess the comparisons, the different modes of transport within their travel, but the fact that everything's included and done in a luxury level, that just really appeals to them. And the other thing that we haven't lost, even in the last 32 years of our existence, is the fact that every one of our tours travels with a tour manager
Right.
and a tour doctor. Now, so a doctor, an Australian registered doctor, goes on every one of our tours. Now, people
That
would
is
say
rather
you're
unique. I don't know of any tour operator that has that.
well, and James, it's something that Phil was passionate about because even now we're going to destinations that are very much off the beaten track,
Mhm.
be it in some of the locations we go to in Africa or Asia or so on, where people simply don't want to go to the local medical facilities if something was to happen. So we've kept this standard of having an Australian doctor travel with every one of our groups with a case full of registered medication,
Mhm.
and it's really about servicing those guests that have a slight emergency, be it from a deli belly to a slip, triple fall, but getting that immediate treatment is what we call luxury, and it just sets us apart from what our competitors do.
No, absolutely, and I can certainly understand that, and it's really is unique. I know a lot of round the world trips and things like that, and they don't have that. Now, you are located where in Australia?
We are located in Melbourne.
Okay.
Today you find me in Sydney, but our head office is in Melbourne, Australia, and we've been operating comfortably out of Australia, as I said, for the last 32 years. We are part of a larger travel group. So part of 5 different companies owned by a private family,
Okay.
but they're very much about keeping all the travel groups independent and operating in their own right, and very well supported. We also have a office in London,
Okay.
and because we find that the Australians, the Brits, and the Americans seem to travel really well together. So London, we really established ourselves in London at about 2015, actually, and
Mhm.
then of course we had the COVID period, and then COVID came along as we discussed previously. And what we actually found during COVID was that, quite coincidentally, we saw a number of American people contacting us, asking us about our journeys. We really hadn't considered the States, because we're very comfortable in what we do. We only operate 30 to 40 tours a year. We're very
Right.
specific about what we do. We go to every corner of the globe. Um, we have incredibly high standards, a huge return customer rate, but we started being contacted organically by people from the States. Now,
Right.
believe it or not, I did follow up with a few of these first clients that have now traveled with us numerous times from the States. And one couple in particular bumped into one of our groups on a train journey and just loved the way our group got along. So they asked more about it, and they ended up joining our another tour at a later stage, and they spread the word. So we're slowly, organically seeing this growth in the United States.
That's great.
So why not take advantage of that? And that's why I'm speaking to you and putting the word out there.
So, what percentage of your business comes from Australia versus the UK versus now the US and maybe Canada?
Yeah, so about Australia, New Zealand will always be our I guess our major market. It's about 85%. UK about 10, and we're seeing about 5% from
Right.
Canada and the US at the moment. But
Now that
we're very comfortable with that changing, of course. But we still see a majority of our business being in the Australian New Zealand market.
now this is all escorted tours, pretty much.
All escorted tours. Yep. So we don't do tailor made, but at the same time, our tours are so well curated, and we've been doing it for so long that, um, people sort of they ask me, why don't you get into the tailor-made business? Well, simply because what we do incredibly well,
Right.
and we're so well supported by it. I don't think we need to transition away from that.
Mm.
Rather than what we have been doing is incorporating a lot more personalization in our tours,
Mm.
flexibility, giving people options so that you're not constantly traveling as a group. You're
Right.
actually being split away. You can build your own itinerary within an itinerary.
Mm.
But what you do get when you travel with our groups is you get access to, you know, experiences that you wouldn't be able to individually.
Sure.
You're going to get access to restaurants that simply are unbookable, usually, as an individual. So take advantage of that, traveling with like minded individuals that genuinely always seem to get along. It's the Captain's Choice family, but you can still have your tailor made piece in between it.
Sure.
I think what describes it best, James, for us is that even with tailor made, people have to make decisions and they still have to do a lot of behind the scenes work when they're traveling. And that's not part of our DNA. Our DNA is we're taking you to a destination, you're going to enjoy it. You don't need to worry about your luggage. You don't need to worry about customs and immigration, visas, all that kind of thing. We take care of absolutely everything, including tipping, everything, so that our guests can just genuinely enjoy every destination.
No, that's fantastic. So, in your view, what makes Captain's Choice unique in the market, aside from having a doctor on staff, is really maybe the all-inclusiveness of everything, and that you're really taking care of the guests from the beginning to the end.
Yes, well, and that used to be a tagline that Phil used. Leave your wallet at home. Our driver will pick you up from your home and drop you back at home. Everything's included after you leave. So, and whilst we don't promote the brand that way anymore, we haven't lost that touch. We really do are genuinely all inclusive. We look at the very best hotels that we can use. It may not be the highest ranking hotel. We may stay in a smaller boutique hotel where we can take the whole hotel
Right.
and have a lot of fun, and then we can have a private concert in the gardens. This is the way we think. Um, you know, so many people have been to Italy. So, we had a beautiful group going through Italy at the beginning of this year, and we had a private dinner and viewing in the Vatican. So
Oh, wow.
you can't do that on your own.
No.
That's not part of TaylorMade, but it can be part of our group. So it's always about pushing the boundaries and doing something different to elevate the experience. We love being experience rich. We love people going home and telling their friends about the experiences, because ultimately that's what they're going to talk about. They're not
Absolutely.
going to talk about whether they got seat 3A or 6 Bravo. They're going to talk about these wonderful experiences that we deliver.
Now, who is your target customer in terms of the demographic, age, income, things like that?
Look, it varies according to the program that we're operating,
Right.
James. So our private jet itineraries are really set up for anyone to join the itinerary. Those that are aware of private jet itineraries within the States, be it Abercrombie Kent, TCS, so on and so forth,
Sure.
their private jet itineraries start in America, take you abroad, and bring you back. We do it slightly differently because we're disadvantaged in a way being so far south here in Australia,
Right.
and we don't have that many aircraft in Australia. So our private jet tours are set up on location. So India by private jet starts and finishes in Delhi.
Okay.
China by private jet starts in Beijing, finishes in Shanghai. Africa private jet starts in Cairo, finishes in Cape Town. It makes it far more accessible to anyone to join us. Now, one of the biggest complications we always had with our private jet program was here in Australia, people would complain, "Oh, your private jets leave from Sydney, and I live in Perth, which is 4 hours away," or
Right.
so on
Right.
and so forth. Having that, almost treating your private jet like a cruise liner, it gives people the opportunity to go on direct flights on their preferred airline in their preferred
Mm.
travel class, be it business first or economy, and it just makes it easier to operate that private jet in the location where you're operating. Now, why I went down that path was with our private jets, we're seeing a lot of a younger, I'd say middle-aged professional. And when I say
Okay.
middle-age, I am talking probably 50 plus
Okay.
that are still working but are willing to give up 2 weeks to see the highlights of Africa because you can do it all with the private jet, or the very best of India in 2 weeks, or the very best of China, so on and so forth. So that is a little bit different to say our combination of doing Galapagos, Easter Island, and Antarctica, which does tend to attract more the recent retirees or
Right.
those that are retired and have the extra time to travel to those areas. So it does really, yeah, it does change just depending on the travel program that they're joining. But to be quite frank with you, our average age of travel is 68
Okay.
over our whole network. But we do cater for everyone. One thing we are very conscious of is making sure that people are fit and healthy enough to travel on our
Mhm.
programs. So we do question our guests, and with our tour doctors, they get in touch with all the guests just to ensure that they're not spending money on an itinerary they're not going to enjoy,
Mhm.
or they're going to hold up others on. So we're very particular about that, only because some of the destinations that we do travel to can be very difficult as far as tourism infrastructure is concerned. So we're very conscious to have the right people on the right tours as well.
No, obviously you're targeting now the U.S. market, and we are a
Mm-hmm.
publication that goes out to about 125,000 travel advisors. How can U.S. travel advisors best work with you on all of your programs and sell your programs to their clients?
Well, we obviously have our website set up, Captain's Choice, which features all our journeys. But most importantly, it's got the contact details of our team. So
Mhm.
it's a mere case of just getting in touch with our team. We only produce one brochure,
Okay.
which we're very conscious of our environmental footprint. So
Okay.
that's but that can be made available, and we only print minimal amounts unless there is a desire to have more, and then we'll print more to have them sent out. So that's certainly something we can send out to the agents as well. But as I said, really the website will give them most of the information that they need. if they have any questions, they can certainly get in touch with us directly. We've got a small but a very robust team. We might be in Australia, but we're very much about working late or early to fit in with our friends in the United States.
Okay.
And we do have a consultant in our London office that primarily looks after all the phones for the United States. So there's that better time zone connection there.
Yeah, that probably would be a little bit more convenient, although I suppose they can call you up about when I'm calling you now at the beginning of your morning, which is
Absolutely.
interesting. Yeah. So no, it sounds like the product sounds fantastic, and I know there is in luxury travel these days there is a deep appreciation for programs that like you develop. You mentioned some of the brands that I think I would compare you to. But those are there's a lot of business to be had there, and it seems like everyone's looking for the new thing. And yeah, everybody likes to travel with Australians. Come on,
we're very easygoing people.
Well, I traveled
with
two Australians on a cruise many years ago, and we became best of friends, and now we talk all the time. So he is a couple that live in Brisbane, and we got to know them. And when we went over to Australia, we went and visited them. And when they come to New York, we visited them, and they're great. And I really it's a friendship that we developed, and it is really a fun. They're fun. You are fun to travel with. Put it that way.
Well, our groups and we get so much positive feedback about the wonderful people I travelled with, and to your point, so many people have met on one of our journeys and then have travelled on further journeys together, be it with ourselves or with other people. They've become travel companions.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic to see that. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is the fact that about 30% of our business is solo travellers.
Oh, okay. I
And
was going to ask
it's
you that
to
because I was
make,
going to say with the
yeah,
profile of the customer, a lot of it I thought was going to be couples, but you said there are a lot of solos. Yeah.
yeah, about 30% solos, and some tours even more. And it's fantastic because again, it's this case of, people meeting one another and then traveling together again and again and again. And it's about, and like you said, Australians are very easygoing in their nature. They like the finer things in life, don't get me wrong, but they create an environment that's all inclusive. And people really put their arms around each other and want to enjoy themselves and the company of others. And I think that we do that incredibly well, Australians and Captain's Choice, so much so that we do see a lot of solos traveling with us because we provide that level of comfort. We've got the support of the tour escorts or the tour hosts that travel with them. So they're never going to be sitting alone at a table for dinner because, the tour manager or the tour doctor will join you, someone will join you. It just creates this really warm environment where people feel comfortable and safe. And I think that's really important for the solo travelers.
No, it is definitely is a trend these days. Everyone here in the States with the various suppliers, they are creating solo travel programs. They're not
Mm.
they're offering no single supplements, things like that that are a lot easier to make it for solo travelers to go because there is a big trend to that. I mean, I'm do a lot of river cruising, and river cruising is heading into that market as well with some very big players. Now, I guess the last thing is there anything else you want to tell our 125,000 travel advisors about Captain's Choice? What's going on today?
Oh, look what's going on today. We're right in the middle of travel period for Australians in particular because it's the winter months here in Australia. So
Right.
everyone's going abroad. So we're in the midst of our program, but we're also working incredibly hard to finalize our 2027 program and start looking at the launch of 2028. I'm actually meeting with a couple of our top Virtuoso members here in Australia today. We are part of the Virtuoso group in the
Oh, great.
Southwest
Okay.
Pacific, and we're looking at expanding that globally so that we can have more interaction within the United States as well. So that's sort of something quite positive that we see as a positive moving forward. We've been part of Virtuoso for over 10 years here in the
Oh, okay.
Southwest Pacific, and that's been tremendous for us. So, from our perspective, we're just delighted to have so much interest from people that we weren't necessarily targeting. And that just makes us feel incredibly humble that we are creating exceptional journeys that really catch people's eye. And like I said, it was fantastic speaking to that handful of American travelers that have traveled with us a couple of times now, and just hearing about how they got to know Captain's Choice, but also how wonderful they're finding their experience abroad. So much so that one of the clients said, "Shh, don't tell too many Americans about your program. We prefer to keep it to ourselves."
Give it as their best kept secret, right? There you go. Absolutely. But well, listen, Bus, it's been great to chat with you about this. I knew a little bit about it. We've gotten a lot of your releases, but this is a good chance to find out more about the company. And I believe your URL is what? www.captains-choice.com.
Choice.
Yeah, and that's that you can go to that website and find out all the wonderful trips that you can book your clients on Captain's Choice.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure it sounds like Bus will take care of you. And also
excellent. Thank you.
But anyway, thank you again. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today about Captain's Choice.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you, James. Thanks for the opportunity.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.